Why are any of you here right now? Actually, I know why. Okay, we're going to talk about the game for a little bit, and then Sam Leavitt appears to be burning up his red shirt, and then we talk Michigan State's coaching search, and then, well, do we have it the worst in the conference? Let's find out.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners. Hey, happy Saturday night. We get to do another one of these again. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off of your first purchase. Like I said, Spartan friends, Spartan family, I will reiterate that because, hey, we're all in this together. We only have each other, and boy, does misery love company. And yeah, we'll talk about this game for a little bit, okay? We're not all going to act super surprised at what happened in Columbus. I think we kind of had a hunch this was going to happen even before we found out that Mel Tucker made those fascinating phone calls in the offseason. But yeah, as the season progressed, the writing was kind of on the wall a little bit as to what was going to happen on Saturday here. But story time with Matt right now first. Back when I was a wee lad in middle school, maybe it was early high school. I think it was middle school. Who cares, quite frankly? I was a baseball player, all right? You know, I loved playing baseball. And in the fall, to continue our season, we played doubleheaders every Saturday in a fall league. It was 8 weeks long, I believe it was. And there was one year where 7 out of the 8 weeks, we either got rained out completely or just rain delays on top of rain delay. 7 out of 8 weeks. First 2 weeks, you wake up, it's like, oh, man, this is a bummer. Shoot, this is kind of actually a little upsetting. And then the third, fourth week rolls around, you're like, oh, I'm kind of rolling out of bed expecting to see gray skies and nothing but doom and gloom outside the window and just having something I used to love taken away from me on a Saturday. And then by the time you're at your 6th or 7th Saturday, it's like, oh, my God, I don't even look forward to this day anymore. Folks, you know where I'm going with this. This kind of really seems like the Michigan State football season for 2023, doesn't it? Another game. Not competitive whatsoever against the Buckeyes in the, we'll call it the Mel Tucker era. Here's what I mean by this. Look, even though that we knew what was going to happen today, even though that we can't possibly have any more beaten out of us than there already has been, gang, we're still trying to find a way to not find new lows every single weekend, but we're still, finding our way to the bottom here because, look, these numbers I'm going to read off are not going to be fun whatsoever here. This is, again, I'll say it again. We'll just call it the 4th game in the Mel Tucker era against Ohio State. The 4th year for Michigan State versus Ohio State since Mel Tucker took over here and tried to get Michigan State back on top, or at least make a dent into where the Ohio States and the Michigans and the Penn States of the world are. Guys, I'm going to read some numbers here in those 4 games. Okay, 28-0. 49-0, 35-13, and 35-3. Those weren't final scores I just named off. Those were first half scores against Ohio State. Michigan State, you guys already know this, but man, when you say the numbers out loud, it really paints the true picture of what's going on here. Getting pantsed whenever they play the Buckeyes. That is a combined first half score of 147-16. That's an average of about 36-ish points to, well, a grand total of 4 points for Michigan State in the first half. And I only have to point out the first half because, again, another just rock bottom moment. It's another game against Ohio State where their starters really don't have to play the second half. I mean, God, you see them play a competitive game against Wisconsin the other week over Halloween weekend. And it's like, wait, Wisconsin, aren't they undergoing like kind of a regime change over there? Is that not the first year for them? And they're already competitive against the Buckeyes, but here we are, year 4, and not only are we not closer to the Buckeyes, we might even be a lot further than what we were when Mel Tucker took over here. So that was a rock bottom moment, and I got one more for you guys right here. Again, I didn't think we'd still have these as we're 9 weeks into this now, but hey, you know what I realized, guys, on Saturday? And it's a fun realization. We're all going to have a great time with this. This is the third time this season where someone plays against Michigan State and they will leave the weekend as the Heisman favorite. It happened after the Washington game. Michael Penix leaves the weekend as the odds-on Heisman favorite. Okay, fast forward a few weeks later, on Hitler Trivia Night, J.J. McCarthy, he leaves that weekend as the Heisman favorite. Now, things, of course, have changed. He is no longer a favorite by any stretch of the imagination, but he lit Michigan State up so bad that, man, his name shot up the odds boards on FanDuel. And then, oh, you know where I'm going with this. Marvin Harrison Jr., he might not be the odds-on favorite, but he is going to be a top 3 candidate at worst, leaving a game against Michigan State. So, yeah, that's how great things are going here. If you want to have the best game of your career, and maybe so good that it transcends just some box score, it actually gets you invited to New York City, well, come on and play the Michigan State Spartans. Oh, I hate it here. Anyway, so that's just like program rock bottoms. I hit a few personal rock bottoms too this game, and hey, you know what? I gotta say, I didn't think I had any more in me, especially after the Rutgers game, but here we are. Really bad feeling when I'm talking to my dad on the phone the night before the game, and he says, remember when we used to get like nervous for these games? You remember that? It's like, yep, I do, Dad. Thanks for reminding me. And now like we just roll out of bed and it seems like an obligation now. But and also the second rock bottom I've hit, and this is embarrassing to even admit, but this is where we're at right now. I'm sure some State fans agree, maybe most don't, but this is where I'm at. During the game today, Travion Henderson, he's got the ball in his hands and MSU goes for a low tackle. I forgot who it was, but I'm thinking in the back of my head, ooh, don't hurt Travion. Buckeyes are going to need him in 2 weeks against Michigan. It's like, that's how bad it's going right now, man. I'm not going to lie to you and say like, oh, no, I don't care. No, like this is where I'm at mentally. It's like, hey, let's just try to keep all the Buckeyes healthy here so they can knock off Michigan either in 2 weeks or in their national title run, because it's inevitable. Both these teams are going to make the college football playoff. It seems like it's, oh my God, I cannot believe how bad things have gotten. Let's shine the light on some positives though of what happened on Saturday, right? Let's do this for about 20 seconds. Hey, Gino Vandermark, Ethan Boyd on the offensive line. That's as good as you could do against the Buckeyes, I think. That was a pretty good showing from those two offensive linemen. And Jonathan Kim, still good. Missed the first kick, but certainly had the leg for it. And so kind of a season we're having. I'm getting excited about missed kicks, but hey, at least they had the leg from 54 yards. And then, of course, he made the other field goal because that's right. No one shuts out the Michigan State Spartans twice in a 4-week stretch. That's right. Suck it, Big Ten. And look, Chance Rucker, that one play that he was on single coverage against Marvin Harrison, it was good coverage. Like he did as well as he possibly could have done. Now that's the player making the good play right there. Conversation might have to be had as to why the true freshman is on single coverage against Marvin Harrison. I had a tweet. I said, hey, just a discussion, like why is the true freshman on Marvin Harrison Jr.? And a lot of people took that as like, oh, who else do you want out there? We have no one else. Guys, I know that we have no more bodies at cornerback. I'm fine with Chance Rucker getting the chance out there to play against the best receiver in the nation. Would it kill you, though, to bracket a safety up there or do some, I don't know, shell cover 2? It wouldn't kill you. At least give him some safety help. And don't put Chance on his own island against, well, a guy that's going to go in the top 5 of this year's draft. But again, this is a season on and off the field that has been just littered with just fascinating decisions, and that was one of them. Not going to get too bent out of shape about it. Clearly did not matter in the grand scheme of things, but yeah. God. Look, we're going to get to the 2 storylines here. Actually, we'll get to one storyline right now because it's a quick one. We had 2 storylines going into this game. I said, hey, if this offense with Caden Hauser at quarterback, you know, obviously the young kid, there's still some injury issues on the offensive line, this, and that. If they could have 1 or 2 touchdown drives against Ohio State, that's a great positive because Ohio State is quite literally like having one of the best defensive runs in the last decade. They are, especially in the passing game too. Like they are almost flawless in the pass defense. If they could string together touchdown drives, that'd be great. Obviously didn't happen. That was storyline number 1. Storyline number 2, Sam Leavitt and his red shirt. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it because I know a lot of you guys want to hear about the MSU coaching search as well. But first, need to talk your ear off about Gametime. That's right, gang, the best ticketing app in the land. If you're looking for tickets to see the Michigan State Spartans at Ford Field, boom, game time it up. Let's say you're sick of this whole college football business and you just want to go catch a concert or a play or a musical. Bang, game time as well. They are the greatest ticketing app out there for just a list of reasons. My favorites, the last minute deals. As you're walking into the stadium or the theater, just check your phone. Let's say you don't even have the tickets yet. Check your phone. The last minute flash deals on Game Time are second to none. And also they get sent straight to your phone immediately. You're not going to rummage through your email outside of the venue wondering, oh my God, when is this email of the tickets going to get here? Game Time makes it so easy. You almost feel like you're cheating the system with them. And, hey, cheat the system a little more too with promo code Locked On College. That's right. If you smash in promo code Locked On College when you download your Game Time app, you're going to save $20 off of your first ticket purchase. Again, gang, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off of your first purchase. All right. Also, hey, Team Ticker, you guys like the sign behind me? And let's say you're listening on the podcast. You're like, no, you idiot. I can't see a sign. What are you talking about? I'll explain myself here. Let's say you're at a sports bar or you're in someone's man cave and you see a countdown to kickoff sign. All right. It's just like that if it was like 50 times better. All right. Just behind me, they just showed the weather for the next game. They will have women's soccer stats, men's basketball stats, the schedule, some top 20. This is your countdown clock on steroids, the best in the game at teamticker.com. And one cool thing for Michigan State fans here is that this is a newish company. All right. Not a lot of colleges have a Team Ticker sign. And since they're so new, not a lot of other people even have a Michigan State sign. So hook up the MSU fan in your life, or maybe it's just you, at teamticker.com and smash in promo code Locked On. That's going to save you $50 off your Team Ticker sign. Again, gang, promo code Locked On for $50 off at teamticker.com. All right, let's get back into the mix here. And when Andrew Skofar took the field late in the fourth quarter, that all but sealed the deal that, yes, Sam Leavitt, the true freshman that's had some dazzling moments here at Michigan State, he's done for this season. Now, a lot of us know this, but I'll bring you up to speed if you don't. In college, you can play 4 games, shut your season down, and maintain that season of eligibility. So Sam Leavitt, he will still have 4 years of college eligibility. And look, we could argue up and down if that's a good idea or not. I think it's a no-brainer for both parties involved. And I did get myself hung up last week on, well, why'd you burn it up in the Indiana game? Because now these last 3 games, if Caden Hauser gets hurt, you don't have Noah Kim, he's hurt. Now it's just Andrew Skofar playing. And my goodness. But then I had an epiphany. It's like, who cares if it's Skofar for all 4 quarters? It's not like we got a bowl bid on the line or anything. It's not like, we're gunning for the Big Ten championship. Like, if it's Skofar, whatever. Who cares? Anyway, that's for a different discussion. If you even want to have it, I think, quite frankly, you guys probably don't. Let's go to the Sam Leavitt conversation you guys do want to hear about, though. And we're going to shout out the people at Spartans Illustrated, David Harns, Ryan O'Blennis. Great stories here. We're going to start with the Sam Leavitt story and then switch to the coaching search here. But this is interesting because there is some curiosity, maybe even some panic of, oh my God, Sam Leavitt, he's just going to go back to the Pacific Northwest where he's from. He's going to leave town immediately. He doesn't even want to do a quarterback battle. Let's get some clarity here, because I may have been in that camp too until I read this story. Did some talking, did some chatting. Let's get to the quotes here. Again, Spartans Illustrated, go subscribe to the fine folks over there. Sam Leavitt said, quote, I haven't made any decisions yet. I have to go home and talk to my parents and my family, Coach Barnett and Coach Johnson, and figure everything out. We'll see what happens. Just got to do what's best for you and the team, having those conversations and figuring what the best path is. So pretty cookie cutter answer there. Just I haven't made any decisions yet. This is fact of the matter. Now, what does catch my eye here is that when Spartans Illustrated talked with Sam Leavitt's dad, he said, quote, he'd have to be dragged out of here. And something else that I thought was very interesting in this piece too, something I didn't know beforehand and something maybe a lot of you people didn't understand as well, is that, hey, okay, when I go home and talk to my parents and family, when I read that quote, I think, yeah, when you take the 4-hour flight back home to the Pacific Northwest, a completely different part of the country. No, guys, like this is a nice tidbit. Sam Leavitt's parents, they moved to DeWitt. Now, if you don't know, that's about 15, 20 minutes away from East Lansing. Like his parents are here. It's just a car ride away. I mean, so it's not, hey, he's got to go back to a different part of the country. Maybe he wants to stay there, go to like a Washington or Oregon. Like, interesting that his family is now just here, and they say they enjoy it here. Now, I don't know what the situation is. I don't know if they're renting into it. I don't know if they sign their life to a 15-year mortgage that they can't get out of. I don't know the finances of the family. I don't know their lives, but I do know that, okay, they've staked their ground here. There's already the family feeling here, and if Sam Leavitt's dad says what is to be believed, he'd have to be dragged out of here. That's optimistic for Michigan State fans. Now, what that piece isn't saying in stone that he will stay, of course, but I think we can see a quarterback battle unfold till at least the spring here is how I read all of that. Now, let's get into this coaching search bonanza because Spartans Illustrated certainly had some big updates as well. And we're going to go through a little of the small ones and then talk the names here. Now, the first update, Michigan State kind of throwing out there a $6 to $7 million per year salary. That would be 20th-ish in the nation. That's going to put you in the middle of the pack for the Big Ten. Kirk Cousins and Mark D'Antonio are being consulted with. Thought that was a little interesting. And about 10 names will be interviewed. Also, when it comes to the Board of Trustees, always in the headlines. The board is not trying to make the hire, Spartans Illustrated says. They know they aren't qualified. Quote, as long as you don't bring us Urban Meyer is what was said. So, yeah, look, we'll take the Urban Meyer discussion can later because we've already talked about him a lot. But let's say hypothetically that it's not Urban Meyer. I know that there's a good contingent of State fans out there that still believe that there is a higher than 0% shot. Okay, I'm like a 5% shot at this point, but let's just say that it's not going to be Urban Meyer. This is how we're going to continue with this conversation. All right. Right now, we already know it's Lance Leopold, Jonathan Smith, Jake Dickert, Dave Clausen. That was reported by Spartans Illustrated to be 4 guys that will get an interview. A 5th candidate has emerged. Jason Candle will be getting an interview, and then a 6th one as well. If you already turned the game off late in the game, they kind of broke it as well on NBC, but Harlon Barnett will get an interview as well. And before you start losing your mind being like, how on earth can this guy get an interview? It's the least MSU can do for just having this guy interim for the last few weeks. Do I think he gets the job? Absolutely not. And if he does, I'll do the episode, and then it'll be my last episode I ever do on here because I will lose my mind and just commit a list of crime that you'd never see me ever. God, that'd be miserable. That would be miserable if they hire Harlon Barnett. Anyway, you have to interview him, though. It's a nice thing to do. Jason Candle. Now, look, I could talk myself into a lot of candidates. There's some that I quite simply can't. Harlon Barnett was just one right there. Now, Jason Candle, if he gets hired, I'm not going to be like, oh, great, we got our guy. I think he's on like the 3rd tier. Tier 1, in my opinion, Urban Meyer. Tier 2, Jonathan Smith, Mike Elko, Lance Leopold. Tier 3, you still have some solid names here. And let's just go through some pros and cons here for Jason Candle. The good news, hey, 44 years old. He's young. He's from Ohio. And that's something that is important for this Michigan State search as well. They wanted to start regional and then work their way out. That's how you get names like Jonathan Smith and Jake Dickert. You know, they did eventually balloon to the West Coast, but he has been the head coach of Toledo since 2016. Top 20 scoring offense this year, and more times than not, he's in the top 25 or top 30 for scoring offense, and has never had a losing season at Toledo. He has 2 conference titles, and, well, based on the looks of this season, it could be 3 pretty soon. Now, what is the portion of this? What are the knocks against Jason Candle? His coaching experience is at Mount Union, great program, awesome program, and Toledo. Those are the only staffs he's been on. So 2 things. What does that coaching tree look like? I mean, who are the offensive coordinators? Who are the defensive coordinators? Who are the high-power Power 5 recruiters that you could bring on? Like, yes, there's networking. Yes, there's mingling, but that gets me a little nervous that we've only swam in the Mount Union waters and the MAC waters at Toledo. And then also the obvious one, lack of Power 5 experience. We're going from the MAC. We're going from the Glass Bowl, a respectable program. He's done fine things there. But, wow, to big boy Big Ten football when you're trying to work your way up to be with, again, the Penn States, the Ohio States of the world, like, whew, it's asking a lot. He's a good coach, X's and O's wise. Don't get me wrong, but, man, this is quite the overhaul of a program. Now, there is one name that is not confirmed quite frankly, I don't even know if he is going to ever be confirmed. I don't know if he's ever going to be on the list, but here's a name that I want to bring up here. And I'm not the first one to do this. I think I actually did this a few weeks ago. In passing, I mentioned Jedd Fisch's name, the head coach of Arizona. But Justin Thin of 24/7 Sports just did a piece as well. And, man, I tell you what, as the weeks go on, Jedd Fisch is looking like a viable candidate here. Now, if you don't know who Jedd Fisch is, I'll give you the rundown, of course. 47 years old, head coach of Arizona, just making $2.6 million a year. So, hey, buddy, if you want to come triple that salary, find yourself a nice spot in East Lansing. But, hey, he's been everywhere, okay? Everywhere. In the Big Ten, he's been to Michigan, Minnesota, UCLA. That's right. We're going to count them as a Big Ten school. In the NFL, he's done work with the Rams, the Patriots, Jaguars, whether it be quarterback coaching, offensive coordinator, assistant offensive coordinator. This guy is a well-rounded guy. So the pros, obviously everything I just said, he's been everywhere. He's a regional guy. In 2022 at Arizona, he pulled a top 25 recruiting class. Who does that? Arizona has no reason to be pulling top 25 classes. Now for the following year, it's just inside the top 40. But again, at a place like Arizona, he's got 2 4-stars signed. He actually had a 5-star committed for a little bit. And then old Uncle Phil Knight over at Oregon dropped the NIL bag that was smashing away what Arizona had to offer. But yeah, the man can recruit. If you can recruit at Arizona, look, I know it's not great shakes up here right now. You can recruit though at Michigan State, and let's stick to that point. Not great shakes at Michigan State right now. He took over something very similar at Arizona when Kevin Sumlin did his thing down there. He took over a winless program, and in his first year, 1-11. Slow to start. You excuse him for that. Second year, 5-7. And now 6-3. They brought USC to overtime. They have been competitive in just about every game here. They just beat Colorado, if that's something that tickles your fancy. But also, he's got true freshman Noah Fafita balling out over there. So this man knows his way around a quarterback as well. So there you have it. Now the cons, it's not all, peachy king over here. He can't stay anywhere for more than 2 years, it seems like. I mean, this Arizona job that he's been at, this is his 3rd year, like I just said. This is the longest he's been somewhere in quite some time. Like, this man does hop around. He has NFL experience. And let's say, hey, in 2 years, he's got Michigan State at 8-4. And whoa, Jedd, you're looking good. Does he split and go back to the NFL, a much more desirable location than the college waters, of course? That I don't know. But, hey, is that a gamble you take? Is that a thing where, like, well, okay, if the NFL wants him, take him, because that means that he's done really good here in 2 or 3 years, and we'll just pass it off to the next coach. Fine. I'll take that. Yeah, 100%. So Jedd Fisch, that's another name I just want to throw out there. Again, that's not confirmed by Spartans Illustrated. That's just me talking. That's just me blabbing. But, yeah, as we go down the list here, that's what we're talking about. So with the Spartans Illustrated report, that's 6 names. It's going to be 10-ish. We're going to see what the other names are here in the future. Could there be bigger names like Mike Elko? Yeah, perhaps. That'd be a fun time, but we'll see here. Gang, we will be back here in a hot second. Just need to talk your ear off about Jase Medical as I find the button to hit. I'm stalling for time. All right, there we go. We spend a lot of time talking together, you and I, gang. That's right. We get fired up together on wins and losses and who starts and who sits, and I'm thankful for that connection we have. And today I want to make our chat a little more personal. I just learned that you can get a 1-year supply on ED medications. That's right. You realize what that means? Bring on extended travel, bring on the next natural disaster or supply chain issue, because you are covered, my friend. You don't have to worry about whether or not you can refill your generics for Cialis or Viagra, and this is possible because of our friends at Jase Medical. Go online right now at jasemedical.com to receive your 12-month supply on your daily medication. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a discount as well. A verified customer had this to say about Jase, quote, "I'm thankful for their service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut pills in half to have it. I ordered most of my daily meds with a year supply. I ordered the antibiotic kit as well, and I feel secure now. Prices are lower than local pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone. If you or someone you love would like to get some peace of mind by having a year supply of any daily medication, go to jasemedical.com to see if it's offered for you. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase." Now let's just fly around the country here, and we will land this plane back in East Lansing here, but I just can't help to point out Hey, if the Michigan game didn't make you feel crummy enough, if the Ohio State game that we just saw against Michigan State didn't make you feel bad enough, how about this one out of Evanston? Northwestern has beat Wisconsin to go 5-5 on the season, and I got two ways to make you feel bad if you're a Michigan State fan. And odds are, if you're listening this long into the podcast and you're a Michigan State fan, you're a glutton for pain. You're just a masochist at this point. Misery loves company. Let's all hang out here together. I got two reasons to make you feel bad here. Northwestern just beat Wisconsin. Wait, Wisconsin, weren't they just competitive against Ohio State? Like a bad Wisconsin team that just lost Northwestern was able to be competitive against Ohio State, and our Spartans weren't. Great. Awesome. Okay. And also, number two, you already know where I'm going with this. They had a pretty seismic change in the summer to their staff with that whole scandal surrounding Pat Fitzgerald, and now they're just one win away from a bowl game. And I get it, guys. They play in the Big Ten West, okay? I know what you're going to say. Okay, their over-under for the season was 2.5 to begin with. Their expectations were very low. They have exceeded expectations doubled at this point. And also, I get this Big Ten West. Michigan State is 1-2 against Big Ten West teams this year. So I don't really know how much we can be really talking about that anyway. I'll stop poo-pooing on that party. There is another fan base here in this conference that ain't having such a great time here. Let's go back to that Michigan-Penn State game. And of course, like we do here on Locked On Spartans, we're going to make this about us here. Penn State, once again, under James Franklin, falls short, and they are well on their way to just another disappointing 10-win season that's going to end in some New Year's Six Bowl or some Citrus Bowl or something like that. So I came out with the question on Twitter, all right, because this is how many episodes has James Franklin and his Nittany Lions done this, where they beat all the teams they're supposed to, but they just fall short against the other big two teams in the Big Ten. All right, so after the game, I tweeted this out. Would you rather be a Penn State fan or an MSU fan right now? The 10-win seasons, but always in purgatory versus the hope of a fresh start. Now, I will say this. All right, this is not a scientific poll. I know full well that I have maybe a gazillion more State fans that follow me on Twitter than I do Penn State fans. And I also tweeted this maybe a half hour after the Penn State game, where if a Nittany Lions fan were to see this, tensions might be pretty high. We are well within the 24-hour rule here. So the split on these votes, 982 votes total, 68% said, hey, I'd rather be a Michigan State fan. And 31.9% said, oh, I'd rather be a Penn State fan. And of course, I get both sides here. I have to say, though, I think the Penn State fans are a lot more upset at the season than we are. I think that if you asked a Michigan State fan like me or you, hey, how angry are you at the season right now? You guys aren't going to a bowl game again. You guys suck. What? We're a little upset. Sure. Yeah, of course we are. But if you ask a Penn State fan for another year coming into a season with sky-high expectations, we have stacked recruiting classes, we have good coordinators, 5-star quarterback, draft picks everywhere all over the field. And yet again, we fall short, and not because there's a talent gap, but because of our coach makes so many asinine decisions during these kind of games. We are now going to not be in a college football playoff again. We are not going to compete for a Big Ten title. I think the Penn State fans are more upset with how the season is going than us State fans, believe it or not. I know that sounds a little crazy, and of course it's a case-by-case basis, but man, it is something watching James Franklin do this over and over again. This would be completely different if Penn State just got to 10 wins because, yeah, just like a talent gap. But that's not the case. They have draft picks everywhere. They have top 10 recruiting classes funneling into this program. And this isn't the first time that we've seen James Franklin make some really weird coaching decisions during a game that outright just cost them the opportunity of competing for championships. But, man, then again, hey, how bad can 10 wins every single season possibly be? So we're going to go to some responses here to this tweet. This is from friend of the program, Chief of Propaganda. 3-6 feels like a New Year's Six win compared to having another decade of Franklin. And that's the other interesting wrinkle, too, with this, is that James Franklin is going to be at Penn State forever. I mean, that buyout is so high that only an oil sheik could buy him out at this point. So they are stuck with this man forever. The man that can recruit, the man that can beat lower teams, and the man that cannot get into Indy. Robert Bondi writes in, currently would love to be 10-2 annually, but that gets stale after a while. Maybe it changes with the new expanded college football playoff, but that'll be temporary if Franklin continues to lose to Michigan and Ohio State and doesn't do much in the college football playoff either. And no, this wasn't just, a bonanza of State fans saying, oh, I want to be a State fan. This is great. No, like there are some Michigan State fans like Brian that said, MSU fan voting for Penn State. I like to beat teams like Maryland and Iowa every single time. And there is something to that, as we are probably going to go into an Indiana game where Michigan State is the underdog on FanDuel. Yeah, I get that as well. It's not lost with me, but I do think it is interesting. Like, yes, it would be awesome to have 10 wins, but man, it would get irritating. Not only after a while, but it is a while because your coach keeps getting in the way in these games. The game, what was it, last year against Michigan? The fake field goal inside the 5-yard line instead of just running the ball. Or today, weird times to punt, going for 2 immediately in the first half. The odd 2-point conversion at the end of the game. Like, what? Anyway, you guys know it. And then, hey, we actually did have a Michigan fan chime in, too. This is Michigan Mogul. He said, I'd be an MSU fan 100%. So there you go, solidarity. All right, gang, this has been fun, I guess we'll call it. Cannot really thank you guys enough for spending some of your Saturday night with us here if you're watching the live show. If you're catching the replay of this, thank you guys so much for tuning in, hanging out, getting up to speed on the coaching search. I see a bunch of comments over here. I assume when I click that button, this is going to be a lot of Michigan fans saying some mean things, but oh no, you guys are actually pretty nice today. Okay, nice. Yeah, closer game than U of M. Improvement is the key. That's right, Greg. That's the spirit, baby. 49-0 against Michigan to 38-3 against Ohio State. We will be back on top by 2047. Woohoo! 2 more games to go, guys. 2 more games to go. We got this. I might even do a segment this week on like how MSU could get to a bowl game at 5-7 with the APR score. I know that they're 28th in APR right now, so that's a lot of work to do, and you'd have to win the next 2 games. But yeah, I don't know how I'm going to land this plane. I don't know how I'm going to stop this show. So I'm just going to say, hey, gang, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Go Lions if you're a Lions fan like I am. Let's, forward on the field. Whatever. I'm just going to go stare at the ceiling the rest of the night. All right. See you guys. Love you.